Guys, this is the special obesity COVID edition of the Leg Kick. Like the wise Childish Gambino once said, "Are you eating though? Are you eating though? Breakfast, lunch, and dinners for beginners. You don't even know." Welcome to the Leg Kick. We have our special guest today, one of my close, good friends and training partners, probably the man who I put in the most work with, cup champion, male model, Zoolander style, Don. The Filipino Donald Trump Magboo.
Thanks for having me, boys. But yeah, I want to thank you guys in advance because you guys have been my therapy during my runs over this pandemic.
Hey.
Yeah, run season started early, and I get like probably 3-4 runs a week, and then I try to get my work in. Now that I got mats finally downstairs in the basement because I've been going crazy. So whenever the babies are sleeping, I'll try to squeeze in a 30-40 minute run. And then if I do that 3-4 times a week, I end up finishing a podcast of yours. So thank you.
Thank you for being for lying to us. Don't lie. Our podcasts are well over 2 hours long. It takes you well more than 3 hours.
Well, I'm watching it on YouTube. And we're listening, and it's about an hour and 45 to 2 hours.
Yeah, we gotta cut that down.
I just want to say that
Spotify.
we don't. First of all, we don't advocate fitness here on this podcast. While we thank you for listening to us during your runs, we are in favor of obesity and diabetes. So you, sir, are going to have to listen.
Is that a joke for like the Instagram questions I got like this Tuesday?
Oh, bro, We've first of all, thank you to the Leg Kick fans. You guys were very vocal in your support of the podcast this week. We have a ton of questions that we look forward to answering on air this week.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I just ate two bowls of pasta, so that's how much I care about fitness during this pandemic.
Speaking of which, I know I talk a lot of crap about jollof rice, Nigerian, Ghanaian, which is better.
Here we go.
Now, hold on. Let me just say that I had some of my mom's risotto today, a red pepper risotto, and let me tell you, it's risotto is an Italian rice dish, and this is made with, you blend up the red peppers into a sauce, into like a tomato sauce, but it's not made with tomatoes, it's made with red peppers. Man, you can get that jollof rice out of here, okay? Take a jollof rice.
That sounds like Italian jollof rice.
Hold on, jollof? No. Jollof rice, Nigerian jollof rice, you can take second, and Ghanaian rice you can take third. Okay, number one, Italian risotto. Okay,
You are asleep. You are asleep. Wake up, sir. Wake up.
Until you have it, you can't knock it.
Risotto is what you eat when you want food that doesn't taste like anything. So I feel you there.
How dare you, David?
That sounds like
you?
Well, you guys don't know what
like jollof rice. It sounds like bootleg.
Yeah, KD of the jollof rice.
Don, you were gonna say something?
Well, you guys don't know what Stefano had before that.
Ooh,
we were talking out off air.
So before those 2 bowls of risotto, I actually went and got me some McDonald's 20 chicken McNuggets and Cadbury Cream Egg McFlurry, which is the best McFlurry.
Snack size or regular?
Snack size. Get out of here with that amateur. Those are amateur numbers, sir. Amateur.
So you're over here talking about fitness and health and healthy living, but you went to McDonald's.
Hold on. Did you hear me say fitness? I swear I said fatness.
Oh, okay. I was about to say you sit on a throne of lies.
We're a fat acceptance podcast here. Our name will be the Leg Thick in no time.
Jesus. Wow. Yes, and. All right. That's an improv
We
joke.
got to introduce people.
Intro.
Sorry. That was a long introduction.
Mike, you want me to introduce? You want me to introduce these guys, or are you? Oh no, that's on my home mic duty.
Nah, you can do it.
All right.
Fine. Oh,
I'm excited.
I'm sick. I don't know if it's translating, but like I am not feeling well. So like it's not corona. I'm just not feeling like it's just season changing.
Here's my turn for tired.
It is allergy season.
Wait. Let me get through these intros. Okay. To my above right, we have renowned African warlord and child slaver Joseph Kony. To my left, longtime guest of the Howard Stern Show, Beetlejuice.
Jeez.
And on our bottom left, we have defunct mid-2000s rapper Bone Crusher.
I'm guessing that's me.
Only white people care about Howard Stern. Controversial statement, but
hey man, you were on his show for years, so I don't get where the hate's coming from. If you guys don't know who Beetlejuice is, not the movie, but the guest on the Howard Stern Show, look him up right now.
Yeah, I was about to say that's kind of
Is that the guy with the small head and the big eyes?
Yeah, aka David.
I don't think anybody could characterize my eyes as big. I do have a small head though, but I'll take that.
It's harder to hit in sparring. Don't worry, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You see, I've just intentionally cut weight on my head. So
Hey man, you can't be like Henry Cejudo struggling to make 125 with that big old Mexican head. Speaking of which, Donnie, what do you think about this upcoming card, man?
Oh, the UFC 240. It's stacked, isn't it? From top to bottom. In the main event, what is it? Tony Ferguson and Justin
Gaethje, yeah.
Yeah, and the co-main event is a second title fight. They used to have Amanda Nunes on there, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
she
pulled out.
had an ankle injury.
Yeah.
Was it an ankle injury? I thought she just was
an ankle injury.
I thought she said she's out because she didn't want that smoke from our Canadian Felicia Spencer. Which, by the way, I think she'd get killed. But
yeah, smoke would be the only thing left of Felicia Spencer after she fought Amanda Nunes.
She did hang in there with Cyborg.
That's what I'm saying. Put some respect on her name.
Listen. I truly believe. I think Amanda Nunes wants a full camp for Felicia, but if full camp Amanda versus full camp Felicia, it's going to be a slaughter.
Felicia.
That's what I heard. It was more to do with Amanda Nunes wanted a full camp rather than she had an injury. I don't think I actually heard anything about an injury. But what do you think in terms of a lot of fighters take a lot of short-term fights, but it seems like some fighters, especially if you're a champion, you're like, what's in it for me?
As a person who's taken lots of short-term fights, it's probably not a good idea. When you're facing high-level people, you probably should.
But also, I mean, then again, we're talking about Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer. No disrespect to Felicia Spencer, who could definitely beat me up, but in terms of the gap in skill,
sure, yeah, but we got a John Jones Chael Sonnen situation coming on. It's not how big the risk is. It's should you even take the risk in the first place. It's not like Amanda Nunes is a young, hungry contender trying to work her way up the rankings, and this could be the last chance she gets. At this point, you're defending your legacy, and you should take only the engagements that favor you in the best possible way. Could she beat Felicia Spencer? Absolutely. Could John Jones have beaten Chael Sonnen on short notice? For sure. But when you're defending your reputation as the GOAT, there's a lot more for you to lose than there is for Felicia Spencer.
Yeah. And also take into account, even though Amanda Nunes is arguably the GOAT in women's MMA, this will be her. It's really hard to tell how she deals with true 145ers. Yeah, she fought Cyborg, but that fight was about a minute long. They were just trading. Actually, she was the one catching Cyborg, and she just finished her off. So to deal with Felicia, I don't think she would be engaging in exchanges with Amanda, and we would have to see what she's made of at 145 and how she deals with the size, because Felicia is a big girl. So
yeah,
and
plus
Felicia's grappling heavy too.
Grappling heavy, yeah.
Plus Felicia's one of those women that if anything that she does have over Amanda, it's cardio, and Amanda, that's probably the one place you would say is not her strong suit.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, David, that's a well-established fact. She's a front runner. Did you see the Jermaine Durandamine fight where she was literally having her way with Jermaine Durandamine and gassed in the later rounds in grappling exchanges that were heavily favoring her? She's still gassed.
Yeah, but I mean, what from Felicia Spencer have we seen that makes you think that she has this kind of, track record of a gas tank? I'm not saying that she doesn't.
I thought you were saying the opposite.
I'm not saying she's Tony Ferguson. Don't get me wrong, but she does have she has proven that she can go 5 rounds with Cyborg. She really pushed the pace on Cyborg.
Yeah, it was
I mean, like,
it was a good fight. It wasn't a blowout by any means.
Yeah,
it was definitely decisive though, but like it wasn't it wasn't
it wasn't GSP John Fitch.
Yeah, it wasn't a slaughter. And even if it was a slaughter, that's not an indication of like the way, like she was still going after her. You get what I'm trying to say? And that usually is an indication, especially when things aren't going your way, that you have a good gas tank. If you're getting frustrated for 5 rounds and you're still coming forward and forward, that's an indication that you probably have a good gas tank. I would probably give the cardio edge to Felicia. So in a short camp where your cardio is not going to be the best, you probably would. Yeah, I would probably say, again, look, I think Felicia is in way over her head, and that's coming from a Canadian who wants the Canadian to win. You know what I'm saying? Like,
same here.
but
just being realistic, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
She doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell, and I mean, we're being generous giving her,
just a touch.
Hey, I don't want to be mean because like if Felicia Spencer comes down to Action MMA, she's gonna like go after me, and I'm gonna be like, hey man, it is what it is.
Bro, you'll be so terrified as you're stuffing her takedowns. Felicia, look, his words, not mine.
That's not what
I personally have a lot of faith in your abilities. I believe you can, beat Mike, but Mike's been talking a lot of crap. So if you're listening to this podcast, come down here and show this young gun a lesson.
She will murder me.
I just want to say that we here on the Leg Kick today are a very racially diverse group. So I'd just like to give us a pat on the back.
Only white people.
I was just about to say the same thing, David. I was going to say the same thing, David.
All right, are we actually going to talk about this card? Like,
hey, Italians are barely white.
Talking about like
but
10 minutes about a fight that's not even on the card anymore.
Let's talk a little more in depth about this card. First of all, how are they going to do my boy Fabricio Verdum that kind of disrespect by putting him on the undercard? Well,
because he's a drug cheat.
No. Hold on.
And he's gone 2-2 since the drug scandal.
This is a former champion. This is a former champion, the first man to beat Fedor Emelianenko, and you're putting him on the undercard. Well, Ed Hardy is fighting Jorgen De Castro. No, I mean Ed Hardy. I won't use his real name. Ed Hardy is fighting Jorgen De Castro on the main card. What the heck is that? Come on, man.
Really? Hold on a second. Is he really on the main card?
It's on the main card.
Not a good fight. That's not a fight I would expect to see on a main event after we've just spent, pretty much 2 months without a fight. Yeah. So I can see your frustration there.
Okay, all right, never mind.
Is he the last fight on the prelims? Just to kind of...
Verdum, no. Not even the last fight. He's not even the main prelim event.
That's Pettis probably.
Oh, okay.
Guys, I just wanted to pitch this to you really quickly because here's my frustration with some of the ways that, I want to get into the actual fights themselves, but it's my frustration with some of the UFC's marketing. It's like, who do you think is going to look at this pay-per-view and say, oh, wow, Greg Hardy's on the card. I wasn't going to buy the pay-per-view before, but now let's put him for me at least, for people that are going to buy pay-per-views, I would assume that Fabricio Verdum would be more of a name to put on that main card among people who buy pay-per-views as opposed to an Ed Hardy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, let me counter that and say that for a casual, Greg Hardy probably has more name relevance than Fabricio Verdum, which is really only known by MMA hardcore. Now that we're in this, period of uncertainty where there's literally zero competition, this is the perfect time to get casuals who are familiar with an athlete in another sport to tune in to MMA or tune into the UFC and watch what will be.
Let me piggyback on that too. Sorry, were you still going?
No, I'm done.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say let me piggyback on that and let me pitch something to you guys. Look, am I saying what Greg Hardy did in his past is justifiable for this point that I'm gonna make? Absolutely not. I want to make that absolutely clear, and I want to preface what I'm about to say with this. But there are people, I think, who like a redemption story, right? There are people who like kind of the guy who's fallen from the mountain and is going up the mountain again to climb, right, in life. And I think for a lot of people, Greg Hardy represents that. I don't know if that's the case, but
I think it's more
past the point.
I think it's the opposite. I think it's hate buys. I think it's a bunch of people tuning in to see if he's going to get his face beat in.
Totally agree. I think it's like the Conor thing where you tune in to watch him lose because you hate him so much, and hopefully, eventually, he's going to build up some fans. But so far from his performances, he's yet to do that. Really, he's won 2 fights legitimately, and one by DQ, and then lost one. So
I mean, that last one was to Volkov, who I think is very underrated in that division.
A legit top 7, top 8 guy for sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to go top to bottom on this card?
Sure.
So
can we hold on before we go on? Can we just speed through the prelims because we could go like 10 minutes on it?
Yeah. I was going to even skip, even though Bryce Mitchell and Charlie Rosa and Vicente Luque versus Nico Price are fire fights, absolute fire.
Yeah, great. It's for sure.
We might have to, just in the interest of time, because we've got all these fan questions. Let's start off with Uriah Hall versus Ronaldo Souza.
Okay, this is the one that I think should be on the main card. This is the one.
I'm right there with you, man. This is the first regular prelim fight.
Right. This is the one where I think should have.
Donnie, this is the first prelim fight.
Oh man.
I think
they're both coming off losses, correct?
Something else.
What's that?
They're coming off losses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, Hall's coming off of a 2-fight win streak.
No. He lost to Paulo Costa. No.
Yeah. Then he won 2 straight.
Oh, did he
after
actually?
That loss.
Okay,
he got 2 quick wins.
So.
A little bizarre. Especially with the style of fight that is, there's potential to be great fireworks, stylistically.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. Uriah Hall, he's got, I'm not sure how I see this playing out, just because, Uriah Hall, very, very, very flashy striking style, highlight reel kind of fighter, but has a little bit of trouble when he's being pressured backwards. Yeah, and tends to circle the cage with his hands down as well. We saw that, perfect instance of that against, what's his name? You know what I'm talking about, the guy who fought Elias.
Oh,
Black gentleman. Brunson, yeah.
Brunson, yeah.
So
and even Paulo Costa, like he was getting walked down the whole time.
Yeah, and given that Jacare has had a lot of success kind of marching people down and looking for that cross counter over the top, how do you guys see this playing out?
Well, I think the thing about Uriah Hall that no one really likes to give him credit for, everyone talks about the power and the highlight reel knockouts, but he's scary accurate, especially when it comes to straight attacks. Scary accurate. If you look at some of his stats, statistically, I think he's like top 5 in that division in terms of accuracy. Souza is not necessarily a guy who's known. He's a strike sponge. He absorbs strikes. So I think Souza needs to be on his P's and Q's when he's going inside on him. But with that being said, I would still give it to Jacare Souza.
You know what? I'll say one thing that interests me. Sorry, David. Before I just want to bring in the Paulo Costa fight. Even though he, that fight didn't end up going his way. One thing that I saw that Uriah Hall added to his arsenal in that fight was a really precise and accurate jab that he just kept sticking Paulo Costa with down the center, and Paulo Costa, just absorbing it and marching forward like not a lot of people would be able to do. But that really has me interested as a new factor that we could potentially see in this fight.
Yeah, potentially. I agree. It's just I think the only way for Uriah it almost seemed like he did it on the fly just to keep Paulo Costa off of him, to just relieve that pressure and sticking that jab. In his last couple of fights, has he been using that jab as much? I guess it's just depending on the style of matchup. And with Jacare Souza, he would probably employ a similar strategy and not stay on the outside with Uriah Hall and try to pressure him into more boxing exchanges. And then hopefully maybe get into the clinch if need be, if the striking's not going his way.
Yeah, his takedowns are not great. Usually bum rushes guys to the clinch and tries to work trips from there, but not his shot, his double leg is not phenomenal. So I'm always hesitant that he's going to be able to fall back on his jiu-jitsu in a lot of fights.
And he doesn't really anymore. He just likes to.
Yeah, no. What was interesting for me is that I'm actually not too familiar with Jacare's work. I know that he's this decorated, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. He's been in the middleweight for a long time. He's one of the top guys. But what really interested me about his last fight with, I think it was like Daniel Hermanson or something.
No,
like
John Blockowitz was his last one. He went up to.
Forget that. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking about the one before that.
It's such a forgettable fight, the John Blockowitz one.
Yeah, man, no, that was not even close. Like he didn't look like he had any business being in there. At least in that weight division. But the one where Jack Hermanson, Jack Hermanson. What was interesting about that fight is that those guys were both grapplers, and from what I understood and from all the analysis that I watched and read, I heard that Jacare was definitely the more decorated guy and the more technical guy. And Hermanson were more of an energy guy and more of almost like
a cardio monster.
Exactly.
Way more.
And what was interesting was that I feel, and this I'll throw it out to you. Do you guys think that perhaps Jacare's time is past him in terms of
certainly
that, like the level?
Is he above 40 now? Is he 40 now?
Yeah, he's 42. He's got to be like 40 something.
Here's why I agree with that assessment.
But I think he's around 40. But
yeah, I agree with that assessment in the sense that he's one of these fighters where a lot of people didn't get to see his prime because his prime was really in Strikeforce, I think. Mm-hmm. Like he was a guy that a lot of people were talking about who would beat Anderson Silva in his prime. You know what I mean? Like and the fact that he's still competitive at that high level at this age and with this many years of fighting behind him is remarkable. And his just to go into his jiu-jitsu, because David mentioned how accredited his jiu-jitsu is. I think he went 1-1 in grappling matches with Damian Maia. So that's that should tell you something.
Was that the match where he broke his arm and then held it? Yeah, I remember that one. Like that
broke his arm and still won.
That was the one where a lot of people were like, they should go to an overtime submission only match. Just because of that. Anyway, that's like neither here or there. But I definitely think Souza is definitely past his prime. I just think that Uriah Hall, I would say out of everyone in the top 20 of middleweight, he's probably the worst grappler.
Uriah Hall?
Yeah, on that list. I would say he's probably the worst grappler on that list.
Yeah, I would say that's not even due to the fact that he's necessarily bad, but just to the fact that middleweight has just so many skilled grapplers in the top 10.
Mm-hmm. You guys, right? But yeah, I think we're gonna see Jiu-Jitsu Jacare, and like he's definitely gonna pressure. He's gonna play the wrestling game, and he's gonna get that submission. I don't know what round. But I just think that Uriah Hall, it's not going to be easy. I think Uriah Hall is definitely going to hit him with some straight shots and keep that accuracy going. But I think it's a matter of time. I do, if he pressures.
So the next fight on the card I'm looking at here is an interesting women's strawweight bout, not necessarily one with title implications, but I'm actually kind of curious to see this one. And I'm not often curious. I'm not often curious about women's strawweight bouts that aren't in the top 5. But we've got Michelle Waterson versus Carla Esparza. Well,
the karate hottie versus the Cookie Monster.
The Cookie Monster. I really think this matchup is going to be a tale of whether Carla Esparza can impose her grappling or not, or whether Michelle Waterson can kind of, keep distance, circle the cage, which I think is easier to do for a smaller fighter because you've got so much real estate. Michelle
Waterson's long, isn't she?
She's what?
She's long, isn't she?
No, not even.
But she likes to keep distance. She comes from a karate background, hence her nickname. Okay. And she's gonna. This match seems like it's gonna be a game of distance and who could apply their game and what range this fight's gonna be. It's gonna be staying on the outside. I think Michelle could pick her apart from the outside. if Carla's boxing, if she's going to exchange hands with Michelle and it doesn't go her way, she's going to be shooting in on singles and doubles. So we'll.
Yeah. I really see this playing out kind of like the Joanna matchup, except a lot less brutal, if that makes. Then again, Joanna was much more of a kind of forward pressure fighter boxer at the time when they fought.
She has a lot higher output than Michelle does. Way higher.
Yeah. Do you know what? I see this. I probably see Carla getting TKO'd in this fight.
Oh, look, wait, what? Oh, I thought. Wait, did you just compare Carla Esparza to Joanna Jędrzejczyk?
No, I didn't compare. No, it was the opposite. It was Michelle,
Watterson.
and I didn't compare them, but I said I would see a similar result, as in Carla Esparza attempting to close the distance and not really being able to. Right. I know that Joanna and Michelle Watterson's striking styles are very different, but just I feel like the objectives to beating her are very similar in that I don't think Carla's striking has improved in leaps and bounds. I don't think I'm really.
Plus Carla's not the quickest foot, like the fleetest of foot in that division, and that's where she typically runs into trouble against these strikers, where she's trying to march them down and they're just like circling around her, hang her with some shots, circling around her.
Yeah, they're like half a step ahead of her on the exchanges.
Yeah. Now, at the end of the day, this is a decorated woman in wrestling and experience as well. And, she's definitely had some fights where, people counted her out. Like, I thought she was going to lose against Alexa Grasso, to be honest. And Grasso really got shown the gears there. So.
Didn't she also beat Claudia Gadelha?
Claudia Gadelha?
Didn't she beat her too? Or
she
lost
by
a close
split.
decision.
Yeah, it was really close.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just think I'm not necessarily in the camp that like it's a foregone conclusion for Michelle. But I do think Michelle has the path to win. There's a clear, definite strategy that everyone in that cage, everyone in that arena. Well, it's going to be a no fans arena, but everyone knows what the strategy is going to be for her.
All 14 people in that arena.
Yeah, Mick Maynard, knows what's going to go down.
Yeah.
I can go really quickly on this one. Man, I don't know why we are talking about this over the Vicente Luque fight, which is just nuts to me. But
You're right.
I'm not that excited about this. I watched Michelle Watterson's last fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and I was really disappointed because going into that fight, and this is where sometimes I feel like people criticize UFC's marketing a little bit too much. The way they marketed Michelle Watterson, you would have thought she was the second coming of Lyoto Machida. You would have thought like her karate and like stand-up skills were just this next level, like, up there with Valentina, up there with the best strikers, but that isn't what happened.
I mean, she's got a few flashy tricks. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, though.
Look, I agree with David, though. I think David's got a point.
Yeah, right. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think you have a point. I feel like, at least with the women's divisions, the UFC will be like, all right, who's the hottest fighter that's not on a losing streak? And she's got a few decent skills. She's got decent dexterity in her kicks, but no, she's a middle of the pack fighter, and she definitely suffers from the fact that there's no atomweight division because she's small even for strawweight. But I agree. I think we've spent too much time on this matchup when,
Jeremy, do you have any thoughts?
I just want to say my pick for weird fight of the night is Alexei Oleinik versus Verdum. If this goes into grappling range, Alexei Oleinik is toast. He's toast. Now,
who is going to pull guard first, or who is going to be shooting first?
Oleinik is definitely going to do that weird guard pull that he did against Overeem, where he just hugs his head and sits. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
He has the strangest, least athletic moments. His fights are always bizarre. Because he doesn't know how to turn his hips into his punches. Every time he fights, it looks like somebody's dad got into a scrap at their soccer game.
He's 42 years old, comes from Slack.
Man, I like both.
That's almost as old as Donnie.
Yeah, hopefully Christian Yoboa is not listening.
Yeah, Christian was like, we fully had Donnie's ID out on the table. It was when we were going to Rochester for Robbie and Karen's fight. Shout out to Robbie and Karen. And Donnie's ID was literally on the table, and the year he was born was literally sitting on the table. And Donnie, what year were you born? Time to date yourself.
1982.
1982, right? And so like, yeah, we trolled Christian so hard. 1982, I'm like, yeah, Donnie's 56 years old. And Christian's like, the ID is literally there, and says 1982. He's like, yo, take that in. This guy's 52 years old.
Why are you always doing that to Christian?
Oh, man.
But honestly, as far as this fight goes, barring Alexei Oleinik catching Verdum with some kind of his weird overhand like shovel punch haymakers, I think either Verdum knees the living daylights out of him from a double collar tie or submits him. I don't think this. I think this is the kind of matchup that only really happens at heavyweight. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, the thing about Alexei Oleinik's grappling is I don't see why he can't beat Verdum on the ground. Like, I don't see why Verdum is just like I get it. Verdum is one of the greatest jiu-jitsu players of all time, but you know, like, I don't see why it's such a foregone conclusion. Like, it's definitely going to be competitive.
Yeah, Alex Oleinik is beating dudes, like, now. You know what I mean? And for me, it's going to be, like, the way I thought about it, it's just who's just the strongest on the day, honestly. Like, who's better able to employ their grappling game.
I still think Verdum's going to win. Don't get me wrong.
Listen,
I don't see why it would be competitive. Like, why is it such a foregone conclusion?
I think this will even be competitive on the ground is mind blowing. He's submitting guys like Maurice Green. Did you see Alexei Oleinik's grappling match against Gordon Ryan?
I have not, but break it down for me.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it was like about as competitive as a white belt versus a black belt. And Verdum is a world champion grappler as well.
No,
he's not Gordon Ryan.
I understand that, but like Alexei Oleinik has like what was it, like 27 wins by submission or something crazy like that?
Yeah, he's not a scrub. He's
46. I
agree.
I screwed him over. 46 wins by submission.
Oh, did you see the subs? Oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean,
all kinds of unorthodox submissions on his resume.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you guys that he's no scrub, but I mean, his grappling is very much that. No offense to my Russian friends out there, but there's a lot of Russian grapplers who come from more of a sambo style, and their grappling it's not super positionally sound. They don't have super advanced passing you know what I mean? It's like they've got a couple of weird tricks that you don't see every day. That's kind of the highlight of their grappling game. You know, but it doesn't have the kind of sophistication of, you know, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. It's good, but it's not world class.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, isn't that what makes Khabib such a like puzzle for a lot of the Jiu-Jitsu guys on the ground? Because he's got these tricks that they're not used to.
Submit you in because Sambo is like submitting people in damn near any kind of like position.
Like it's this weird. Like trick, like that tying. I've never seen any. I didn't see the tying up the legs be popular until Khabib did it. But Alexei was doing it from time, right? So, I'm not saying that Verdum's gonna lose here. I do think Verdum is gonna win. I think Verdum's a very underrated striker, and Alexei Oleinik, if there's one thing I will agree with, cannot strike at all. It's, you know, I don't think he can spell it either in English or his native Russian tongue, to be honest. But I don't see why, if it gets to the ground, Alexei Oleinik is just all of a sudden going to be outclassed. Like, he's a good grappler, too. That's all I'm trying to say.
He's definitely a good grappler, but I think there is a difference between good and world class. And I think an anomaly like him would only exist at heavyweight. But yeah, David.
I just think, in my opinion, take this as a question. Could it be that you are a BJJ purist and are more likely to back a dude with solid, classic, even if it's not like traditional, but you know that it's kind of like accredited BJJ accomplishments than a dude who doesn't have those same accomplishments? And I know obviously you're analyzing and doing weight tests and all that stuff too, but do you think that you have a bias to, like, you know, guys that are from that background?
Yeah, I definitely have a bias. I can admit that. I for sure have a bias towards Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it being, you know, my art, But at the same time, I think it's pretty well understood that Sambo has its place, and it's a phenomenal art form. It's a phenomenal martial art. And I think, to your point with Khabib, while I agree his grappling isn't unique, I think his dad really sat down and Abdul Map, he really sat down and analyzed some of the finer points of grappling and wrestling. And his game isn't necessarily that traditional Sambo style. It's a lot
anti-jiu-jitsu style that you're seeing a lot of these Sambo guys do nowadays.
Yeah, it's a lot more of whereas Alexei Oleinik is a lot more of that classic Sambo where it's like kind of like catch as catch can, where we're jumping on subs and whatever. You know what I mean? I'm trying to Ezekiel choke you from bottom mounts, but yeah.
No, I get what you're saying, but like Alexei Oleinik was like it when he was a middleweight, which was a long time ago, was doing these tie-ups and 2-on-1s and cross. Like, he was doing a lot of those tricks too.
He's a gangster. Yeah, nothing. I agree. He's an absolute gangster. But I really think, I don't know, Donnie. Am I wrong here about my assessment?
No, and for different reasons. Where it all depends on what position on the ground it's going to be. So, like whoever's like. If Fabricio Verdum's on top, would you see Oleinik being able to sweep him and catch him with some unconventional sub? Not likely.
Exactly, yeah.
Not likely. And if Oleinik was be able to get on top, he'd be able to catch him with one of his unconventional, but usually high risk, high reward type submissions, especially on that level of grappler. Where, not to discredit Oleinik, he's a phenomenal grappler. Probably the most extensive submission repertoire you've seen in MMA when you just look at his Wikipedia page. There's all kinds of different subs. From Ezekiel chokes from the bottom, from all types of guillotines and whatnot. But you also have to take into account who he's also submitting. So, not saying he doesn't have a chance, but we've seen less established grapplers submit higher level grapplers before, so to discount him would not be smart. But
point well taken.
He definitely Verdum is the favorite, and he should be able to take that one.
I agree. Okay, so while I agree with something that Donnie brought up, in that I think where I'll give Oleinik a bit of credit, sometimes there's people that are just so weird in grappling, where like, and I've faced them too. I have a guy that I train with occasionally who is really has a dirty Ezekiel choke, just like Oleinik. And
they happen to be the same nationality.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, I firmly believe that I'm a much better grappler than the guy, but he's so good at this one weird tip. He's like one of those ads on those X-rated websites. He's one weird tip. So basically,
this is the part of the podcast, the weekly part of the podcast where I remind everyone we're still a Christian podcast. Praise Jesus.
I was actually caught. Yeah, sorry, dear Lord, the baby Jesus. This guy actually caught me with an Ezekiel choke from bottom mount, and I felt like a scrub for weeks, and my throat hurt for like weeks afterwards. But it can happen where like a much better grappler is submitted by a grappler who's not as credentialed because they're so weird and good in very specific areas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's move on. This is another one of those like deserves to be okay. Like this is a shame. This is a real shame because Donald Cerrone's. I don't know, because Jeremy Stevens and Calvin Kattar, I love that matchup, but like, does it really deserve to go on as opposed to Oleinik versus Verdum, Cerrone versus Pettis, and Hall versus Souza? Like, and Hardy versus Castro is obviously the main one that a lot of people talk about, but like, that's another one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that is the last one before it goes to pay-per-view, right? The Pettis Cerrone one, so it's kind of the best one to kind of get people's eyes to like buy the pay-per-view, right?
So you're saying it's like the cheese dip, before you get to the entrees, probably?
More or less.
Yeah, it's UFC kind of has this the last
and they're
fight.
the biggest names, like to the mainstream audience, to kind of like, Cerrone and Pettis are fighting.
It's like the pay-per-view headliner type thing. You know what I mean? Sorry, the prelim headliner.
Simple question, guys. Do you guys like this fight?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I think both are a little bit past their prime, but I think they're both in similar territory where they're kind of just wanting to be in exciting fights. Neither is necessarily in title contention, and yeah, I think it's got all the making of a very exciting fight. I think we could see a very quick fight, but if you guys remember how the first one played out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't remember.
Liver
this was
kick.
A rematch.
Liver kick from southpaw.
Liver kick from southpaw. Yeah.
That was when he was at lightweight and couldn't take a body shot. Remember there was that theory that Cerrone couldn't take a body shot when he went to lightweight?
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, what I find interesting about this matchup is both guys, the style to beat them is similar. They're both not very good with educated pressure, right? Not necessarily running in face first, but both guys have trouble.
Calculated pressure. Yeah.
Exactly, calculated pressure. So given that, I don't really see either of them wanting to employ calculated pressure on the other, though. It seems like we might just see, two guys sniping at each other from outside range, You know
what I think it might happen, actually? I think it's going to be a more technical version of Clay Guida versus Diego Sanchez. Remember when that fight went down?
Yeah, way more technical.
That fight was not technical
version. But I think it's going to be two guys trading, standing in the middle of the cage, hitting each other with kind of their best stuff, right? That's why I think it's going to go down. So,
I definitely think it can match that fight in excitement for as long as it lasts. I have questions about the durability.
Cerrone recovered after the Conor fight.
Yeah.
We just never know with Cerrone.
He's so tough. I just worry that at this stage of his career, his body might be failing. A mind that's his body might be failing a very strong and durable mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Guys, what weight class is this fight going to be taking place at?
This good question, actually.
Welterweight. It's going to be at welterweight.
Okay, good. Well,
I like that.
That would be a lot better. A lot more durable, that's for sure.
You don't have to cut weight. They can just...
Yeah. Okay.
I like that. For these fighters who aren't necessarily going to be in title contention, why not let them, save them the extra damage to their bodies through the weight cut? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But does this deserve to be on the main card, though?
I would say for its entertainment value.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's at the prelim. It's the headline for the prelim. It's a good spot, but I think the issue is why are they having this one there, and then Greg Hardy is literally the next fight up on the main card. You know?
But if you got to look at it this way, I think the whole ESPN Plus prelim thing means that they actually have a main event for all of the prelims, to my understanding. So it's actually more beneficial to be on that last prelim fight, technically,
than the first main card.
Technically, I don't know. There's probably
and you probably do get more viewers because not everyone's going to order pay-per-view. So
maybe.
And if you are you ordering it in the first 10 minutes, or are you an hour in? How many times people being drunk and you're at a party at late at night and everyone's like, "Oh, let's order UFC." Nope, just me. All right, okay, never mind.
Honestly, though,
I've been there.
I remember going to a party for McGregor versus Cerrone, and I was looking all over that house for that fight. So it could happen. No, you do have a point. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like how the UFC kind of sees this is, I think they started carving out this role around the time that Uriah Faber was still fighting, but he wasn't quite main event material anymore, and they needed something to do with, someone who clearly has star power, right? And they want to utilize that star power, but at the same time, they don't want him to be kind of sandwiched in the middle of the main card where they might not be making the most of that. This is kind of an opportunity.
You don't want to be that swing belt, that third bout where most people go and take washroom breaks and
exactly
have a smoke break, and you know how it is.
That being said, I expect Cowboy to probably get finished in this fight. I feel like while both of these fighters have had long and storied careers where they've taken quite a bit of punishments, I feel like physically Pettis might have a little bit more left in the gas tank. And I don't really see Cerrone being able to get his game going against Pettis. I think he's going to beat Cerrone to the punch every time.
Yeah. Well, quick question, boys. Most likely this fight will be tested on the feet, but we all know that Cerrone and Anthony Pettis are very well-rounded fighters and have very underrated ground games.
Right.
Who do you think has got the better game on the ground if it would so happen to get to the floor? Because they both have a similar style, very sneaky off their back, really good triangles and arm bars, and sneaky. Not to say it's going to go there, but it's just interesting that if it does go there, like who has the upper hand?
I'd be tempted to say Pettis just because they're both submission threats, right? Especially from their guard. They're two of the few guys in modern MMA to have really dangerous guards. But Pettis, have you ever seen anybody escape the back position like Pettis?
Yeah, it's like he purposely gets there just so he knows, because he knows he could get out.
Yeah,
like, rather than being stuck in half guard, bottom half guard, 3-quarter mount, he'll just give his back because he knows he could defend
and end up on top, right? It's like he used it basically like a sweep against Nate Diaz Charles Oliveira.
For sure, especially them all sweaty and stuff. He's able to just spin out.
What do you guys think?
I think Cerrone's got better. I think Cerrone's got better attacking game from his guard. To be honest, I really like his triangle. Like I like it the way he sets up that triangle. Now against Pettis, who's like gonna see it. Like it depends. Like this isn't Alexander Hernandez, right? Like this is somebody who's been in the game a long time, right, and knows like kind of like he's seen it. So I don't know if it's gonna even matter that much. But like I guess if you put a gun to my head, I would say Cerrone's probably got the better ground game, like just in terms of submission threats.
Yeah, for me, it's awesome. I don't know. That's the answer to that question. I don't know. I haven't really studied both of their game, especially the ground game.
Cerrone might pursue the takedown. Now that I think about it, he's got a decent reactive double. Like the timing on it's good.
He throws it almost in every fight.
Yeah,
almost every fight. He usually lands it.
The technique's not great on his double leg, but the timing is perfect.
Is very good.
Yeah.
If only he had that like Dominic Cruz knee tap, right? Like he should have spent some time with Dominic Cruz and get that knee tap going that Dominic Cruz has.
That one's dirty.
Yeah. So, but
yeah. Next fight on the card is the first on the main card, and I know it's one we're all excited to talk about.
We already talked about it for like 20 minutes.
Ed Hardy versus Yorgan De Castro. All I'm going to say is that
Matt Hardy's younger brother.
Exactly. And Dan Hardy is the eldest brother, I think. In that, I hope that Yorgan De Castro does what he did against I forget who he fought last fight, Mark Hunt's protege. Remember when he face planted that guy? You remember that, right?
Wait, Tai Tuivasa?
No, the other. What did you say, Mike?
Not Taffa, Ben Sassoli.
No, it was Justin Taffa. It was Justin Taffa.
So it was Taffa. Yeah.
Justin Taffa is related to Rikichi, and all those guys. Yeah, like the wrestlers. Yeah,
That's
he's
crazy.
from The Rock, technically. Yeah.
Oh no, are you just saying all Samoans are related?
No, it's like
racist.
Like a athletic family. Like it's a thing. Like I googled it really weirdly.
It's a huge family. That like they're all connected. The Rock,
Anai family or something, or Anai,
all those guys.
Yeah. Apparently, his uncle fought Mark Hunt. Was a kickboxer and fought Mark Hunt.
Nice.
Justin Taffa, yeah. But so you remember how Yorgan De Castro just face planted him? I hope this happens. I hope Ed Hardy runs in and just catches a left hook and just ends up, tasting what the UFC canvas tastes like.
I don't see that happening. Greg Hardy is not a dumb fighter. He might not be like super duper exciting or super in my opinion,
he's not
as
the
dynamic.
Best, but like he's definitely good enough that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. And he's definitely, he's shown that he can beat like the worst in the division. With all due respect to,
I would say
I think
Castro's better than
yeah,
previous. Yeah, he's no Ben Sassoli. I mean,
his reach is a little bit longer. A little bit longer.
Maybe by an inch.
God bless Ben Sassoli, but
but
only at heavyweight, boys. Only at heavyweight.
But you know what? I will say this though, like, you know, as horrible of a human being as Greg Hardy is, I think this is going to be very competitive. I really do. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. I think De Castro's going to win. You know, this kid's definitely underrated. You know, underrated to the point he doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Really?
Yeah. Castro doesn't have a Wikipedia page. But
Fidel Castro doesn't have a Wikipedia page. That's crazy.
But yeah, like I think Castro's going to win, but I think this is good. This has a sneaky indication it's going to be competitive. So sorry to disappoint you, Stefano.
Well, I'm not saying I'm making a prediction.
Is that a more emotional prediction?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm not even making a prediction. I'm just saying I hope this happens. You know, this is like, you know. But whatever, we've given enough time to these guys.
I think covered that fight accidentally more than all the other fights.
We're doing the UFC like this is for as much as we've insulted them for their matchmaking, like we're proving that this type of matchmaking works because
we're talking about it.
Jeremy Stephens versus Calvin Kattar.
Calvin Kattar kills him.
Yeah, okay. So Jeremy Stephens, it seems like if you're willing to fight in according to a certain game plan, you'll probably beat him at a high level. But he's dangerous. Like, yeah, I see Kattar out jabbing him. Kattar has one of the most beautiful 1-2s I have seen in a long time. Gorgeous.
One of the better boxing games in the 145 pound division, that's for sure.
I will say though, if Jeremy Stephens makes a commitment to a leg kick early and often though, Calvin Kattar is going to be in for a rough night.
Hey, if Jeremy Stephens made a commitment to the leg kick, then I mean we'd be a pretty big podcast. I'm not gonna lie.
That is a good point. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jeremy Stephens. Calvin Kattar on this one. I just think he's in much better form. And yeah, I don't know. I'm for some reason sometimes I like to believe you're only as good as your last fight, and I think about these guys' 2 last fights. I think Calvin Kattar impressed me a little bit more. So that's
especially versus Zabit late.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like especially
knocking out Lamas.
Zabit was so highly rated going in, and he's still super duper highly rated. But you know, Calvin Kattar held his own for the most part. So
yeah, he held his own.
You guys remember?
The knockout versus Lamas was gorgeous. Yeah, no, and to the Zabit fight, yeah. Not only did he hold his own, I think in the later rounds he even started exposing a few of Zabit's weaknesses.
AKA his cardio is terrible.
Yeah.
Not too familiar with these 2 fighters, but I'll be tuning in to watch these 2 bugs from Men in Black fight against each other.
Hilarious. Do you know what's funny?
Bugs from Men in Black? Hold on, is that a size joke?
These guys are so skinny.
Bro.
No. I'm sure they could kick my ass too. So, well, I don't know.
That's kind of funny though.
Actually, I don't know. All I gotta do is really tackle them. They're not too big.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, bro. All you have to do to beat jiu-jitsu is just tackle the guy. Brilliant.
I do.
All of jiu-jitsu has just been undone by football tackles.
Yes.
I love it.
Hey.
Do you know who won UFC 1? I think it was a football player, wasn't it?
I'm gonna tackle him and then I'm gonna Myles Garrett him with a helmet or something.
I don't even know who the heck Myles Garrett is or what organization he fought for, but
shit. Wow. Moving on.
This next fight. Do you know who this next fight is? It's Michael Asiffo versus Jeremy Asiffo. Wow.
Might well.
In a catch weight.
But I was it wasn't even really a spar. It was just like a jokey joke kind of thing. And I took down Michael, and he was so surprised. I was like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
no,
I'm a
he got me.
football.
I was like,
I'm a
whoa.
football player. I actually have explosiveness. Like I like when wrestlers want to like go at it with me, and I take them down. They're so like taken aback. Whoa, like how'd you do that? Like, bro,
But the issue is that okay, you do that in like 30-second stretches. Can you do it for 3 rounds?
I didn't say that. I didn't say
Well,
that.
and here's the thing.
All I
Here's
said
the
is I
thing.
know how to take people down. Like
It's
it's not like I don't play a sport where that's a requirement.
dude, but here's the thing. It's like, okay, you've got me down. Now what? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, then I curb
Get on
stomp.
him.
curb stomp him.
Then you curb stomp. What? You're like you got to take it to the streets, man. What are you talking about?
How are you on
I'm
an
not.
MMA?
I'm not. Don't expect no kind of technique. Okay.
How are you on an MMA podcast, but you have such an unrealistic view of combat? Like,
No, man. Like,
yeah, bro, I'm crazy. I'm different. I played football.
No, I'm not saying.
That jiu-jitsu shit don't work on me.
This has nothing to do with MMA. I'm saying if I were to face either of these 2 bugs from Men in Black, I'm going I'm gonna try and do like capoeira when I've never done it a day in my life. No, I'm gonna stick to what I know.
Jeremy, I think you would be tapping faster than, I don't know,
We should have a leg kick. We should have like a leg kick like jiu-jitsu tournament or like a sparring session.
Why would we do that?
Wait, hold on. You're gonna have a
I test Jeremy's theory out. Like,
Mike, you're gonna have a jiu-jitsu tournament? Where can I collect my gold medal from?
Yeah, how about you?
This is turning into a spitting contest, but honestly, like I'm cool with it.
Yeah, no.
I'm down to like
I'd referee it.
I'm down like
Oh, we got a ref. Okay,
like,
guys.
My
We should
ego's not
like-
my ego's not
like-
that fragile that I'm not willing to try something new like MMA. Like I'll try what I know and see if I can compete. Like,
Bro, aren't you the guy who said last week on last week's episode that you won't talk to someone for 2 days if you lose a basketball match?
I mean, I'm grown now, so like.
Okay, guys, we gotta get back.
All right, next fight. Next
fight is, as I said, Michael Asiffo versus Jeremy Asiffo.
Is this an African joke?
Moving on.
This is an African joke. It's Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Okay, so this fight's gonna be awesome. I don't care what anyone says. Look, there's no way this turns into Darius Lewis versus Francis Ngannou. No way.
I don't think so. Yeah.
This is my seal of approval for fight of the night, performance of the night. Like I'm this is gonna be the fight. I'm telling you guys, I'm super excited.
I think it's gonna be fun. I definitely think that we may have a few cage doors breaking with the amount of explosivity being thrown around in this matchup. It's going to be insane. It's one of those fights where, man, I honestly think at heavyweight this could be for a title, given that how most of the top 10 is aging rapidly, and these 2 guys seem to be the 2 promising stars in the division. Cormier and Stipe aren't going to be around for forever. I wouldn't even mind them throwing an interim title on this.
You know what's crazy? We keep getting this narrative, and I don't know, maybe I just watch too much marketing, but about the heavyweight being devoid of talent. But the truth is, like, if you look at like the top 6, 7 guys, like they're fucking swearing, but they're
whoa.
Okay. Whoa, this is a Muslim podcast.
Christian podcast. But my point is, I feel like for so long the narrative was, there's nobody in heavyweight. So if you just go up to heavyweight, you're automatically going to compete. That's like the light heavyweight fighters. But the truth is, now we've seen Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic hold the division up for so long that we actually have talent in the form of Curtis Blades, Jair Rozenstruik, Francis Ngannou,
continue.
Some other white guy.
Oh, please continue.
No, there's even Blagoy Ivanov, Spivak.
Ivanov is okay.
You know, there's guys.
Wait, did you just say that Sergey Spivak should be top 10?
Yeah.
Is a top 10 fighter in any other division other than heavyweight?
I didn't say Spivak.
No, Mike said Spivak.
I said it.
Harris.
Okay.
Well, Harris is Overeem. Is still around, you know.
You got Cyril Gane.
So I'm really high on Cyril Gane.
Oh, yeah, Cyril Gane. Yeah. Oh my God.
That guy can really move. He's really good on his feet. Great athlete.
You know what? He's the total package for me, honestly. Like he's got power, he can move, he has cardio,
and
good
he can
jiu-jitsu.
grapple.
Yeah, and he's relatively new to the game. Like in
Yeah.
terms of like combining his striking with his grappling.
But he can grapple too. So it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
How is there not more hype around this guy? He's phenomenal.
There will
because
be.
the problem is Dana White gives you a call and goes, here's the issue. Dana White gives Walt Harris a call and goes, hey Walt, you want to fight? Sir, I'm just throwing a name out there. I'm not saying Walt
Don't
Harris.
do that. No, pick another name. Don't do Walt.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, out of all.
Yeah, come on, Mike. Be sensitive.
I'll say this.
Man's been through enough.
Not specifying name of a guy in the top 10, Dana White gives you a call. Hey, you want to fight Cyril Gagne? Hello?
Point taken.
Volkov does not want to fight Gagne right now.
Yeah, a relative unknown who's a stylistic nightmare.
Why would you fight Gagne, right? Cyril Gagne in a fight? Like, why would you want to do that? Risk your spot in the top 10 and the top 5 for what? Like, you know?
He's in a similar position to Ryan Hall. He's in a similar position to Ryan Hall, where he is dangerous and absolutely doesn't have a lot of hype behind him at this present moment. So yeah, you're risking everything to basically be put on a highlight reel.
He finally got a fight, Steph. He finally got a fight.
Who's he fighting?
He's fighting Lamas. Speaking of.
Whoa, Cyril.
Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall is fighting Ricardo Lamas.
I heard that's an interesting fight.
I was gonna say I actually think that Hall probably has a little bit more hype around him just because like he's had more chance to prove what he can do in the UFC than Cyril Gagne. But yeah, no, I definitely see where you're coming from. And it's a story that we hear all the time where a guy's so good in the division that eventually he struggles to get a fight, and he's literally begging people to fight him. So
that was Zabit for a long time. Zabit was that guy.
It's Khabib.
Khabib was that guy. Like, you know, for a long time in that middleweight division, Paulo Costa was that guy, right? So,
oh man,
you know, it happens. You know,
in time.
Yeah.
So my prediction for this fight is that somebody wins by omoplata.
Oh,
that's funny.
Could you imagine?
I actually think this is Ngannou's, and like with all due respect, like when I first thought about it, I was like, oh, it's kind of close to pick him. You know, Rosenstruck has more kickboxing experience, but the more that I think about it, like I just compare the Overeem fights, and I know that MMA is an imperfect science, so it's too tricky. It's not as simple as that. But like, man, I just feel like he hits harder for some reason than Rosenstruck. I think he's a little bit more explosive, almost.
And the thing with Ngannou, like he doesn't even have to hit you clean.
No,
he'll put you out.
But neither does Rosenstruck though.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Here's the thing about
less
the
explosive, but
here's the thing about the Overeem fights. I feel like against Ngannou, Overeem, I was watching that. I'm like, what the hell is that? I mean, aren't you what was the name of the organization?
K1.
Help me. K1, yeah. Aren't you a K1 Grand Prix champion? What is this? What are you doing? Why are you flailing?
He wasn't using his K1 kickboxing.
Yeah, but against
for that fight,
Overeem is just somebody who like against Rosenstruck looked phenomenal, and then he'll have fights where against like Alexei Oleinik, he's just covering up and waiting against the fence. Or like sometimes he'll fight a perfect fight, and then in other fights you're like, who is this? What have you done with Alistair Overeem? But for me, it's who's going to find the chin first. Like, I don't really see it as much more sophisticated than that.
Here's the crazy thing, though, is that like I think Francis Ngannou. I'm not saying he's going to be able to take Rosenstruck's strikes all day. That's not what I'm saying. No. But I think Francis Ngannou has one of the best chins in UFC history.
What?
I really do.
To be honest,
are you basing it on the Stipe fight?
Yeah, we've got one fight to base that off of.
Dude, tired Francis Ngannou taking straight rights from Stipe Miocic, who knocks everyone silly with it.
That's a good point.
Hold on, Chris Lieben's calling. He wants his award back.
No.
He's a southpaw, doesn't count.
Man, like I really do think, and he took some shots from Curse Blades too. Like I really do think that like and JBS, I really do think that Francis Ngannou has. It's not even a sneaky good chin at this point. It's a great chin. And I think that it's not as a foregone conclusion as whoever finds the chin first wins with Francis Ngannou necessarily.
I mean, guys, refresh my memory. In the Rosenstrike Overeem fight, clearly you remember the fight. Or Overeem was clearly outpointing Rosenstrike. Was he? I can't recall. Was he rocking Rosenstrike with hard clean shots? How did he take?
I don't believe. No, he was. There was a lot of pitter patter out at range, and then a lot of work in the clinch with knees.
He wasn't sitting on his shots.
Not really. No, which is, I mean, I think that's a smart thing to do against a counter striker of the caliber of Rosenstrike.
Overeem's new style after getting TKO'd 15 times in his career already. He had to change his style.
And that's just in MMA, right?
Yeah, that's his MMA. Yeah.
Well, he's actually been knocked out 14 times in MMA.
Yeah. And he's like an oddity in terms of like how many times he's been TKO'd, but like he speaks well still, and like he doesn't show any sign of CTE.
Horse meat, man. It's all that horse meat.
That's the horse meat, man.
It's probably.
It's
those
horse
thoroughbreds. Eating those thoroughbreds.
Shout out Nigeria. Okay. But I feel like, I don't know. When I watch when I think back to the Rosenstrike Overeem fight, Rosenstrike looks slow. Does that make any sense?
No, I hear that.
Like, in a way that Ngannou doesn't. Like, he looks big, but, like, Rosenstrike looks... I don't know. Maybe it was because of the way Overeem fought him. It just made him... But then again, like, they were both kickboxers, right? Pardon?
He wasn't able to get out of the blocks there.
Yeah, like, they were both... From the narrative with Rosenstrike is he's an experienced kickboxer. So he should be used to, like, these point fighters. So that's why I was a little... Like, he was the younger fighter, he was the hungrier fighter, but at the same time...
he kind of approached them as if he was, like, a wrestler, almost. Like, it was, like, not necessarily with the same technical fluidity as a wrestler, but he kind of approached them as if he was a wrestler in MMA, where, like, you go all the way out and all the way in, all the way out and all the way in, and it kind of...
You never commit. You never commit, yeah. Always in and out of range.
Here's the thing. The clinch has been a really nice wrinkle to Overeem's game that's always been there, that he's always kind of underused. And for someone who's a kickboxer rather than a Muay Thai fighter, they're really not used to prolonged clinch exchanges like that. Yeah, it can really throw off your timing if you're used to, like, a clinch is just like a brief stop. Okay, let's go again. You know what I mean? So that smothering in the clinch like that, man, builds up lactic acid in your muscles, throws off your timing. You're not sure if you can really commit to a counter if this guy's just going to rush you into the clinch and start, Even
the new age Thai guys, I find, are having problems with that too. Like, they're not, working in the clinch as much as they used to. And because of that, I feel like that's what happened to Rosenstrike. With that being said, I think Ngannou's probably going to be the faster of the two. Good kicking game too.
For me,
a little more explosive, a little longer reach too.
Yeah. I would personally, given that I really haven't seen, and I think we can all admit this, we haven't seen that much of Rosenstrike, because the one prolonged fight he had was really against Overeem. All of his other fights were over very quickly. And I think, as strange as it is, because we're all so familiar with Ngannou and what he does, he has a little bit of the same...
for sure.
Yeah, we haven't seen that much of him. No. The Stipe fight's the only one, right? Other than that, I was excited to see what improvements he made in the Curtis Blades fight, and he just starches him, and it's through no fault of his own. You know what I mean?
Love it, man. Yeah. That was probably one of my favorite fights that year, man. Because Curtis Blades is a good fighter.
Really he's great. Yeah.
Quick question: is it Stipe Miocic who holds the belt in the heavyweight division?
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys,
I think I'm gonna go with Ngannou because he looks like a football player who could take you down and then curb stomp you. No. I think because when I watch his fights, he's like more explosive, and also the thing that he doesn't get knocked out too quickly will give him the advantage in this bout.
So our next fight, we've talked about it extensively on the podcast, and I wouldn't mind discussing it further, but I really want to hear Donnie's opinion on this because it's one of those weird matchups where it's a fight I didn't know I needed, but now that I have it, my God, I love this fight, and I'm so curious to see how it's going to play out. Donnie, let's get your thoughts on Cruz versus Cejudo, because for me, this is my sleeper pick of the night. I think this is a phenomenal potential matchup.
Yeah, in regards to these two, this is coming off. How long has he been out for, Dominic Cruz?
Hasn't it been like 4 years since he fought last?
Yeah,
something like that.
Let me pull it. Let me pull up the official date. But go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. So it's Henry Cejudo's adopted sort of this karate style type of stand-up, and what you've seen in the last fight with Cody Garbrandt versus Dominic Cruz was actually Cody counter-striking Dominic Cruz a lot more. So he was basically leading up to the fight. It was interesting, the dynamic going into that fight, that Dominic Cruz did as much as he could to get under Cody's skin, because Cody's known to be very short-tempered and a little rowdy, right? So, but what it kind of turned the tables on him. He thought that Cody was probably going to go right after him, but he was using effective pressure to lure Dominic to think like he was going to go for a counter and then actually go after him. And stylistically, he has a hand speed to actually, touch Dominic, and he was able to do it a bunch of times. And this was like Team Alpha Male's 30th training camp because Dominic Cruz has fought Team Alpha Male guys a whole bunch of times. So I believe in this fight how Henry Cejudo is gonna try to implement that sort of style to the matchup versus Dominic, and try to probably mix in some wrestling as well. But Dominic Cruz is harder to take down than most people think. With that being said, Henry Cejudo is an Olympic gold medalist, and he has that great inside leg trip. And who knows? At the end of the day, even though Dominic Cruz says ring rust is not real, he's been out a long time, and when it comes to his style of fighting, which is a lot of movement, like has he lost a step? There's a lot of different questions, especially since he's been out for such a long time. Again.
Yeah, do you know what's interesting? So you brought up one of his last fights, or his last fight against Garbrandt. I actually went back and watched Cejudo's last fight fairly recently against Marlon Moraes, and one thing that
he adapted very well.
So he's kind of gone to this very on the feet karate oriented style where he's trying to draw you out to that open side, get you to throw your straight, and then he's going to counter over the top of it. It seemed like Moraes was kind of content to wait on the outside and then just kick the crap out of his legs. And at a certain point, Cejudo was just like, in the middle of the second round, this isn't working, and just started leading with his right hand and boxing into clinches and throwing uppercuts and getting into collar ties. Just a completely different game. And his ability to adapt was interesting. It's hard for me to see where I know like by and large, Cejudo's the favorite for a reason. It's hard for me to just think about the fight and see the exact area of the fight where he's going to have the edge on Dominic Cruz. I know he's a much better wrestler, but it's so hard to take someone down when they're so
never in position to be taken down. He's
exactly.
Off an angle.
When you're cutting angles and keeping that much distance between you and your opponent, I mean, who knows?
Speaking of leg kick, I believe both those guys are not really known to checking leg kicks, especially, Dominic Cruz for that matter. You can't check leg kicks if you're moving your feet that much. Mm-hmm. And in terms of, you've seen him versus DJ, with that karate style bouncing in and out, you can't check leg kicks. And you've seen both those guys. Whoever could establish a leg kick, no pun intended, well, I think that would be a little factor in that fight.
Interesting.
I mean, yeah, just to see. There's a couple of fast guys in that cage. Like, you're gonna have to slow them down somehow. Well, there's so many more aspects to this fight. We could go on forever.
Oh, I know. Like, the one thing is that, like, how is Dominic Cruz going to come back after? Again, the last time he fought was December 30th, 2016, the year of our Lord.
It's like he fights every Olympics.
Basically.
Yeah.
Or every world.
You know. Now, look, the one comparable we have is he was out for 3 years after beating DJ and coming back against Tegeo Mizugaki. But this isn't. He's not coming back against Tegeo Mizugaki. This is Henry Cejudo, right? This is
Yeah.
You know,
and that fight was so short; it was really hard to tell.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 2 minutes, that fight?
Yeah, something like that, a minute and a half. So, you know, it's just gonna be interesting. Also, Dominic Cruz is 35 years old. He's been doing a lot of commentary for the UFC. You know, has it been good commentary? That's another question for another time. But,
hey,
you know, a lot of commentary.
You watch your mouth.
Dude, he really dropped the ball against Habib. When Habib with Conor, he really dropped the ball there. I'm sorry. That was his coming out party, and he dropped the ball. What? Is anyone going to disagree with me that he didn't?
No, okay. But I mean, I think. Come on, man. One mistake can't define the whole guy's career.
Literally, man. When it's your job to talk for a living, you're gonna say some dumb stuff.
Okay,
I admit that was a bad one. That was a bad one.
Could you refresh my memory, guys? What did he say?
Khabib was on top of Conor, bombing on him from that like standing over his guard.
Oh yeah, I mean
he's like trying to tire him out.
I remember.
And Joe Rogan's like, I don't think he's trying to tire him out. I think he's beating on him.
Shout out Joe Rogan. Shout out Dominic Cruz, man. It's not an easy job, and I think he actually, especially from somebody who doesn't do BJJ, he is a good intro level. He has a good way of explaining on almost like a beginner level.
Layman's terms.
Yeah, layman's terms. Like he makes it really, even like wrestling, he makes that really, really simple to understand. So
look, I just think they should go with this is the permanent 3-man booth. This is the A-team booth. Is Rogan, Anik, DC. That's the
one. I agree. I agree. That's a great booth, but at the same time, I also love the Dan Hardy booth. And I also like Michael Bisbing. And the English booth. And then there's the other English booth with Michael Bisbing. I think Bisbing's great as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's only when they go European. When they go European, it's Bisbing, Hardy, and sometimes it's Anik, but sometimes it's another guy. It's the guy who does the one championship matches.
No. Bisbing and Hardy are never in the same booth. It's usually Hardy, Paul Felder, and John Gooden, and then.
Does Brendan Fitzgerald or something like that?
Yeah, Brendan Fitzgerald and Bisbing are together.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we got to really move on.
We got a lot of questions.
On 2 hours.
Yeah, okay. we didn't even no one made a prediction on the Cejudo Cruz fight.
I'm gonna take the upset with Cruz.
I'm gonna go Cejudo.
Cejudo is glory hunting, and I hate it, but yeah, Cejudo.
Okay, so
Jeremy didn't give his pick.
Oh, I'm taking Cejudo too.
Oh, sorry, man.
I didn't hear Donnie give his pick.
Oh, I have Cejudo. And I just want to know quickly before we move on, Stefano's take on how or why he thinks Cruz will take this one.
To be honest, I personally see Cruz being able to outpoint Cejudo over the long run. I think he won't win every round, but I think he'll win the majority of rounds. And I think he's going to be able to lure Cejudo into a chase. Full disclosure, I'm a big Dominic Cruz fan, so there's my cards out on the table. But I do see I don't think that I don't see Cruz falling for that step back counter karate style that Cejudo employs. And if he chases Dominic Cruz, I see that playing into Dominic Cruz's hands as well. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I see this as a minefield for Cejudo to navigate as opposed to for Cruz. But that's I could be wrong.
I see where you're coming from, and the size difference too.
Yeah, the size difference is
like
pronounced.
Henry Cejudo's. He's fought how many times at bantamweight? Right, he's fighting
twice.
Once.
Yeah, the first one was a blow. Yeah.
He made his debut at bantamweight, Mike. His UFC debut.
No, I know, against Marlon Moraes.
No. He made his UFC debut.
His UFC debut. Oh yeah, that's true. Because the flyweight wasn't made yet.
Yeah.
And he's
So
small.
it'll definitely be an interesting fight, especially if Cruz hasn't taken that much of a step back in terms of being off for so long, and being a lot better wrestler than Marlon Moraes. Well, not just I wouldn't say a lot better wrestler, but he would have the conditioning to
And I think it's
to
fair to
withstand the
say.
grappling exchanges.
I also think it's fair to say, no disrespect, obviously, because he's a professional fighter, but I think even Marlon Moraes would say that he quit during that fight because he was winning that fight to begin with. I'm
Did you
not
hear
sure.
in the corner?
Yeah, literally,
Yeah,
literally, it's for everybody to see. I'm not sure Dominic Cruz would act the same way in that position.
Yeah, I mean, Cruz. We saw how he. I'm always hesitant to say that a fighter quits.
No, I don't want
Personally,
to say quit. Yeah, you're right. No, not quit, not quit.
but I do agree that Dominic Cruz has a kind of mental fortitude that we saw in the Cody Garbrandt fight, where he was being bombed on for several rounds and dropped twice, clearly
pop back up
trailing,
so quick.
and won the 5th round.
And I just want to be clear, and I hate that talking head thing when people are like, "Oh yeah, he looked like he quit." I hate that too. I would quit if I was in Marlon Moraes' position. I would quit, but I just think he was winning that fight, and as you said, Henry.
I think he gassed out.
Well, thank you for being more honest than Stephen A. Smith.
No, I would quit. Whatever. He was
No,
getting bombed
that's
on.
what I'm saying. Thank you for being
And
more
you
honest
could
than Stephen
hear,
A. Smith.
and you could hear Mark Henry in his corner,
Literally screaming at him.
just screaming at him, like, "How bad do you want this?" And think about your mother and stuff like that, because he probably seen this in training.
Yeah.
It's
And at the time, he wasn't even getting like he wasn't even losing that bad yet. Like he was losing.
no, he was winning.
Like yeah, no, like the tide was turning, but like he was still in
Still
it.
up.
But like by the time the bell went, like it was a wrap. And yeah, I'm just saying
he was tired. Like
Oh yeah. You could tell he was tired. Like he had no hips on the floor. Like he was just flat. Like Cejudo was able to land a ton of ground and pound, while he just kept him flat on his back.
So, guys, let's move along just because we've got a lot of questions to get through after this. But so next we've got Tony the Type of Guy against the fighting Homer Simpson. Wow, what a matchup! Fireworks all around. How do you guys think this is going to play out?
I think we've already kind of talked about this when homeboy Bouclair was there.
Right.
So Doc, I think you got first crack at this.
for sure.
Okay, well, I really like how Justin Gaethje has really altered his game. Like he still has a very forward pressure style where he just likes to stand and bang and stuff like that. But now he's being a little more defensively responsible, where he's just not coming straight forward and going more toe to toe with everybody. As you've seen in his last 3-4 fights versus, was it James Vick, Donald Cerrone, and then there was Edson Barbosa. Yeah, like he was a lot more calculated in his, say, chaotic style. And Tony Ferguson's he is hittable. He's very hittable. He rolls with his punches. He rolls with the punches very well, but he deals with adversity very well. With that being said, if Justin Gaethje is able to, I don't see him winning a decision. If you were to beat Tony Ferguson, I say he would beat him within the first 3 rounds and finish him. But if it goes past 3 and 4, if you've seen in the past where Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier were able to finish Justin Gaethje, it was around rounds 3 and 4 where he would tend to be a half step slower, and a lot of the punches they would be able to land a lot more solid shots onto him. But his style has changed, so it's a real toss up, I think. And then again, people forget that Tony Ferguson is he's getting up there too.
Yeah.
36 years old.
36 years old.
Damn.
But I'm just there just to watch it and enjoy it. I can't really pick. It would depend. Yeah, I would say if Dustin Gaethje were to win, he would have to finish him, and while Tony Ferguson could win by TKO, submission, or by decision.
Interesting. Yeah. I think it's going to be chaos regardless of what happens.
Cool.
So let's get to my favorite segment of the show. And I'm sure the audiences.
I should get somebody to do jingles for us so I can like put like a jingle every.
That's a good idea.
We need free time. You have Fruity Loops or GarageBand for free.
We'll figure it out. When we get our crap together. So
you guys need a young Jamie to pull that up for you.
Pull that feces up, young Jamie.
I am the young Jamie. And I'm not very good at it.
And the Joe Rogan at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to get into these questions now? Mike, how many do you have?
I got none.
Okay.
I had one question that was from a bot.
Follow and subscribe, please. Best memes on internet. Okay, so this question, I believe, I don't know if it's directed directly towards Donnie, but it says here, who is Donnie's favorite student and why is it me? And that comes from Rob Protomani.
Oh, I love
So, Donnie, your thoughts?
Yeah, put me on the spot like this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who's your favorite student, Donnie? Trick question, it's William.
Well, I'd have to say it's, speaking of trolls, Stefano, you're up there when it comes to being a troll. And who one-ups you in the troll category?
Donnie's son. How old is Manny, Donnie?
Yeah, he's turning 12.
He is the greatest troll this world has ever seen. I'm calling it now. That kid can already out-troll me at the age of 12. He is the greatest troll this world has ever seen. We're trying to train in the gym, and he just starts blasting this obnoxious Fortnite song. And then every time we go to turn it off, he turns it off. And then we start training again, and he puts on this, like, take me to the Fortnite, na 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 na. And it's just, oh my God. Yeah. He's the master troll.
Speaking of young Jamie, he offered to be a young Jamie on the show right before we started.
Manny did?
And yeah, it would have been a first. Usually, like, the host has a young Jamie, but to have a guest have a young Jamie, we're just
thoroughly impressive.
I hope
does he need community service hours? Because I'll sign off on it if he wants to actually work.
And you don't even have to pay him the money. Just in like Dairy Queen gift certificates or in a large lump sum a pair of Jordan 1s.
That's why I pay my girlfriend to be with me sometimes, so it's fine. Don't worry.
Well, for Jordan 1s or Dairy Queen?
Dairy Queen gift certificates. Here you go.
So, guys, our next question comes. Rob. Our next question comes from Karin. Karin has two questions, actually.
All right.
It's a cheeky two-parter. So his first question is, where does Chael Sonnen... Sorry. Where does... Hold on, let me...
Kevin Lee fit into
Where does Kevin Lee fit into all of this? Feel free not to answer that. And the second one is, how does it feel to have the first openly gay MMA fighter as one of your students, Robert Protomani?
Holy crap!
So, if you guys don't know, to give you a little bit of background, me and Donnie have a couple of young fighters that we coach, and Rob and Karin are two polar opposites who they're in love. They argue like old lovers all the time, you know, and it's hilarious. And even on this podcast, they're feuding, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So let's move along.
They were probably hoping that they get way more airtime.
Listen, I told you. Yeah. Sorry, boys, we got no time for your tomfoolery over here. This is a serious MMA podcast. Our next question, and I know this is a troll question.
He's just like,
Mike's like, what is my podcast turned into?
I froze. Like my connection went haywire.
I'm gonna leg kick those guys so hard, no pun intended.
So this next question is kind of a troll question, but I kind of have a PG-13 joke to tell about it if you guys are up for that.
Okay. All right.
So,
go ahead.
my student Jesse, aka the Buttery Chicken.
Oh, nice.
He asks.
Thing or?
Oh, he loves butter chicken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he
have
asked,
Sorry.
being that, and this is intended to troll me because I'm Italian, specifically I'm Roman. So he said, "Why do Romans love young boys?" And so thank you for that, Jesse. And that's actually a misconception, and I'd like to respond with a little old Italian joke. So
yeah, I mentioned we're a Christian podcast, guys.
Yeah, man.
So PG-14 joke. An Italian guy and a Greek guy are sitting on a mountaintop having lunch, and the Greek guy's like, "Hey, man, stop me at any point if this joke isn't appropriate." But the Greek guy says, "Hey, man, can you lay off us Greeks? I know you hate us, but you've got to give us credit. We invented sex." And the Roman guy's like, "Yes, that's true. We give you your respect, but you have to give us Romans credit. We introduced it to the women." So there you go, Jesse.
Oh.
Take that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Stefano, I'm surprised that you didn't ask those questions with their voices.
Oh yeah, I should.
But then again, you're going to give them more airtime, and that's what they want. So,
So Big Samoan Danny has a couple of questions, right?
Okay, you could do this one.
Yo, Big Samoan Danny, the Samoan Josh Barnett Danny would like to ask, Donnie, would Prime Donnie beat up Hoist Gracie? He wants to ask if you in your prime, you would beat up Hoist Gracie. Let me save you the time and say yes, but go on.
Under what rules? Like prime Hoist Gracie?
Let's say in MMA.
MMA rules?
Yeah, did he say in MMA or in like a different sport? Because then he might have a shot.
Yeah, in jiu-jitsu he would have a shot, but Donnie would beat the brakes off of Hoist Gracie in MMA. Like, not even close.
Yeah, it would be. It's. Yeah, well, he's a legend, and stylistically, especially UFC 1 Hoist Gracie you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, with that being said, UFC 1 Hoist Gracie was using, especially back then, the level of grappling he had to employ on guys was like 4-stripe white belt. And,
yeah. I was going to say blue belt, but
at the most. Yeah. But you'll see 4-stripe white belts these days, and white belts that just killing it these days. And with the evolution of MMA, just his tactics would be quite predictable in terms of trying to find range, and for that matter, and I would just try to keep him at bay, and mix in my striking when I'm grappling. When he thinks I'm, well, if you've worked with me before, my style of game is I like to try to make you feel like you are in certain positions where you feel comfortable, and once you feel comfortable in those positions, I'll take you out of that position.
Sort of like how you got the Armenian necktie that one time. Yeah, that's what you did to get me the Armenian necktie.
Oh yes, yeah. So there's certain positions where like I've been doing it since white belt. So like I got my black belt probably a few years ago, and when you have certain moves that you've done for that long, you find different ways to apply that specific move, because everyone will be onto you and they'll be able to defend it. So when it comes to certain moves like that choke, I like to create a lot of pressure under side control. So guys are stuck on the bottom, they're trying to get out, and I'm putting a lot of pressure. And on purpose, I take the pressure off, giving them a little chance to escape. And once they do, that's when I snatch the choke. I'm very cerebral in terms of attacking certain subs. So
my man Donnie likes to set traps
constantly.
Why do I feel like there's an inside joke towards that? Like, am I? No. Okay. All right.
No, he actually does like to. He's very good at setting traps.
And I just kind of wanted to get away from like that question about Hoist Gracie.
I'll answer it for you. Royce Gracie's striking, even in his prime, was not very good, and Donnie would beat the brakes off him. So I said it so you wouldn't have to. Okay, and this question
And on
also.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, and on the ground, like you could see Royce Gracie off the bottom, how the guys he faced back then in terms of like how they ground and pounded, like and their pressure and stuff like that, right? It was just very back then. It was very elementary to today's standards.
Ground and pound wasn't really a science back then like it is
No,
now.
it was just like I just got to hit you as hard as I can, no matter how out of position I am. So
this one also comes from Danny, and this is a really good question that we can all get in on, and I'd like to just preface this. Let's because modern UFC would be a little bit much of an ask for this question. So let's say the UFC around maybe the Chuck Liddell era. So we're talking maybe like mid 2000s, right? So Samoan Danny asks, who would be more successful in the UFC, Kurt Angle or Mike Tyson?
Kurt. I'm going off the board and saying Kurt. Oh, if healthy, Kurt Angle. Back. No neck injuries. I think no neck injuries. Still gold medal wrestling intact. Like we're talking like that kind of Kurt Angle. Then yeah, like Kurt Angle, I think would do really well with that wrestling style. This is a guy who won a gold medal at the Olympics. Like this is
with a broken back.
Yeah, with a broken neck actually.
Broken neck.
So this is if that caliber
of wrestling, won a gold medal at the Junior Olympics.
No, I understand.
Also won the WWF Championship 5 times. Oh.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about sports, David. But if you want to get into oily speedo theater, then we can talk about that.
No, I'm serious. Like I think Kurt Angle, like I think around that time especially, wrestling, like nowadays you guys see it. Like if you go and ask like Don, you have Mason in wrestling, right? Like he's doing wrestling, and you probably say wrestling's probably the backbone of MMA. So I'm thinking like he's already kind of got that. If you get Kurt Angle in there, he's got that backbone already with the wrestling.
Yeah.
I think he would be more successful in MMA than Mike Tyson, just because Mike Tyson, it's now a foreign thing for him to now learn that wrestling. With that being said, Mike Tyson is the better athlete, I would say, probably the more slicker guy, more explosive,
Yeah.
So probably Mike Tyson's ceiling is higher, but like current skills.
We talking about.
Yeah, it depends how much time they have to prepare for a fight. How long are they fighting for?
Yeah.
Over the short period, Kurt Angle would be more successful. If you were to take a 2-year window, and for them to have a career in the UFC, Kurt Angle should be more successful.
I'm going to say definitely Kurt Angle, and my reasoning is, and we don't have to wax lyrical about Mike Tyson's accomplishments. Everyone knows that he is the cream of the crop when it comes to boxing. He's one of the best ever, right? Mind you, it is a lot easier to teach a grappler how to strike than a striker how to grapple. For whatever reason, boxers don't transfer over well to MMA because there's just such a learning curve when it comes to grappling. And that's not that striking's hard. It's just grappling's more essential, and you can learn a few tricks in striking and have that supported by a well-rounded grappling game. You can't really learn a few tricks in grappling and have that surrounded by bolstered up by a well-rounded striking game. So I just think Mike Tyson, especially with his peekaboo style, he's very, very good at. Don't say Israel Adesanya because he's been working on grappling.
Wait, are you gonna say that we've never had strikers who only know 1 or 2 grappling moves and
that's not easy?
That's not easy. Career?
That's not Israel Adesanya. He's been working on his striking as long as his grappling. Sorry, yeah.
He's been working on his grappling as long as his striking?
Israel Adesanya, there's an interview with him 10 years back where he's saying
he wanted to, it's well known that he actually wanted to be in MMA first.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be in kickboxing, and the kickboxing was almost like a detour because he was so good at it that they just kept doing the fights.
His grappling is sneaky good. And then you can find other examples, like, sure.
Yeah, but you need competition. You need competition to really, really get the full scope of working on your grappling.
Well, the problem
and he has that. He's fought in MMA during his early kick. He has an MMA record prior to the UFC. It's not like he was 0-0 at his debut.
I will say, though, that, like, again, I think Mike Tyson, like, if you give these guys 5 years in their prime, like, and they don't age or whatever, I think Mike Tyson definitely has the higher ceiling to be better. And I do think that peekaboo style does translate better to MMA than, let's say, like a Tyson Fury's hands down, lean on the back foot, shoulder roll style.
Yeah, you can't rely on the glove to, like, block shots and deflect shots as well.
Yeah, so I do say that Mike Tyson probably would be better in the long run, but if you're saying right now, current skills, and they got like a year to train in MMA, who's got it? I think Kurt Angle and his wrestling style gives guys fits as opposed to Mike Tyson's style.
Yeah. The one thing about the peekaboo style, it's good for, I think it could be good for MMA, but man, you better have a really good sprawl because it relies on a lot of pressure and then countering the opponent's reactions. So with that square stance, you better be ready to drop on a dime. If you don't have a really good sprawl, you're going to get taken down.
I mean,
I'm going to go with...
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to go with Mike Tyson because Stefano said this is 2005 era, and in 2005 era, like, I didn't see too many, like, I didn't see the caliber of wrestlers that I see now, and Mike Tyson's got that pressure. I don't think Mike Tyson's going to let you, you're going to be, if you face Mike Tyson, you're going to be on the defensive more than you're going to be on the offensive. So, like, yeah, you can go shoot your takedown, but Mike Tyson, first of all, he's got that poison. He's got, like, poison for a fist. And, like, Mike Tyson, he's just going to pressure you like Kurt Angle. Just because of the vast difference in athleticism, I don't see him beating Mike Tyson. Like, Mike Tyson's gonna drop him, like, because of the peekaboo style, and he's gonna drop him because he's not gonna let him like find really his rhythm. So this is 2005. So.
Sorry, Jeremy, who's Mike Tyson gonna drop? He's gonna drop Kurt Angle, or he's gonna drop? Because my assumption is how he does against the top contenders at the time. Like, let's say against a Randy Couture. I don't know.
Yeah, like I don't.
Yeah, guys, I just to sum it up, all of this has already happened back around that time. Just take two examples: Brock Lesnar and James Toney. Both of them had both limited experience rounding out their rest of their skills. Mind you, James Toney didn't even try to round out.
And he was like 40 or something.
Yeah.
But Brock Lesnar at the time was what, 34? Like, yeah. It's, so I'm not going to compare.
Coincidentally, they both faced Randy.
I'm not going to compare. To compare James Toney to Mike Tyson. I'm sorry.
Hey man. Listen,
but Mike Tyson. Yeah, but Mike Tyson's been doing. Mike Tyson's been doing this from young. Like, it's in his DNA.
But James Toney hasn't. All of a sudden, like, that's all of a sudden James Toney hasn't because of one example where James Toney got embarrassed, right? Like, come on.
James Toney had a great boxing career, and actually a lot of people would say that Mike Tyson's career, if you stack it up, might not be. See, the thing with Mike Tyson is that I feel like he had a really good start to his career, but even by like 2005, which is why this is such a silly question, he was already washed. Like, by the time he was losing to like Lennox Lewis, like, he was already wrapped. Like, especially by the time he came back from jail.
And you could say that Mike Tyson was beaten by Evander Holyfield, and James Toney actually beat Evander Holyfield. So
I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about prime Mike Tyson, Mike.
Yeah, I thought so too. No. Like I
thought we were talking about prime Mike Tyson and prime Kurt Angle in 2005 in the MMA.
Well, look,
I do think that, like, the point that you're raising of, like, Mike Tyson is not gonna let you take him down without swinging. Okay, fine, sure. I just think that, like, we've seen that story with some strikers before where they go in hot against a wrestler. Like, Matt Hughes made a living off of, like, ducking under a hook, an errant hook, and then getting under you, right? So
boxing is no defense for a double leg. Like boxing there is no defense in boxing for a double leg takedown. Like good luck trying to tie me on the way in when I'm jumping. Like in an MMA fight, I would have confidence that, you know, anybody. Well, I was going to say anybody here, but me, Mike, and Donnie would beat up Floyd Mayweather in an MMA fight, and it's not even close.
I totally disagree. Well, I mean, maybe
in an MMA fight, David. In an MMA fight,
and I don't know what Donnie does, so don't do that to me. Don't put me.
In an MMA fight, David, really? Do you think he'd beat me in a jiu-jitsu match too?
Like the way Kurt Angle. Oh, my bad. Sorry. It froze on me. Were you guys speaking? My bad.
No, we didn't even hear what he said.
No, David was trying to troll me by saying that Floyd would beat me in an MMA fight.
I just personally don't believe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is even a sport, but keep going on. Sorry, Michael.
Oh, Beetlejuice, man. Come on, you're killing me over here.
No, I will say, though, that Kurt Angle had, like, his wrestling style. If you guys look at some of his tapes, he wasn't, like, a blast double guy. He was a single caller and work from there chain wrestler kind of guy.
Like a Randy Couture or a Dan Henderson.
Yeah, but he wasn't even I wouldn't even say he was like really strong in the Greco-Roman style either. Like it was like this kind of like he would use these kind of like tricks in the freestyle game. Like he's very Pat Downey like. You know how Pat Downey likes to combo his wrestling? Like it's kind of like that, right? So it's interesting. It would be an interesting stylistic choice. Like if he were to face Rampage, where Rampage maybe hit him with a short right hook in there. Like if you really realistically think about it. But I think I'm giving this question way too much thought.
It was an interesting thought experiment. So I have a question by my friend Stan that I was going to read out, but to be honest, I think I'm just going to skip it because it's just too. Shout out to Stan for coming up with a question that's so crude and lewd that I won't even read it on air. It's just like. Oh my God, I can't. I'm sorry.
Share it off.
Yeah, it's awful. Love you, Stan. Sorry, buddy. Okay, so next this comes from Marcel, my boy Marcel, and he asks, how to constantly keep finding even though you get lazy. And I'm assuming he's saying how to push through, laziness and hurdles, especially in these trying times, and how to keep motivated. I'm assuming. His attempt at communicating in the English language is as I've translated it. But I thought about this one, and I'm currently getting obese in quarantine, so I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this. But man, change it up. If you're feeling unmotivated, if you're feeling like you can't really you can't really summon the same kind of vigor for your workouts as you used to. Normally, I'd say push through it, but at a time like this, you've got to keep it interesting. And it's difficult to because you don't have training partners. Not everyone's like Mike and Jeremy over here where they can hold pads for each other. And, you guys, not everyone has that. So keep it interesting. Find something that you like and stick to it. Whether it's a new drill you find or a new aspect of your game you want to work on. Like, for instance, I'm strapping tie pads to trees and just going to town, using that as a makeshift punching bag right now. Keep it simple. If it's too complicated, it's going to fail. But what do you guys think?
I've been recently doing the ladder. Like I've been working on my footwork with the ladder.
The agility ladder, that's good.
Yeah. I've also been running. But I think it just comes down to this is that like, what's your attitude towards the fitness? You know what I'm saying? And I think this is the thing that separates like Khabib, right, from a lot of these guys is that in Dagestan they almost treat like wrestling and mixed martial arts with such reverence, right? And such what's the word? Like it's almost like it's like a privilege. You know what I'm saying? Like a blessing to fight. Right. And I think that the way they treat MMA is the way I think that we should treat fitness in our society sometimes is we should treat it as like a privilege to want to get fit. And if you do that, typically you're not going to be as demotivated, or unmotivated to go ahead. But I don't think I don't think that's probably it. I don't think that's the answer, but I think you're going to be exponentially better at not getting unmotivated or demotivated to work out if you do treat it with a little more reverence, in my opinion. So, yeah.
This is one of my favorite topics. Motivation. In general, I think especially, and we talked about this last week in terms of in sports, there's this toxic mentality where we feel like you're not trying unless you're grinding yourself into the ground or you're basically going on zero. And in sports, we also have this like machismo thing where it's not okay to feel like I don't want to do this. But that's not the reality of life, and we don't have to live that way anyway. So in terms of overcoming motivation, I definitely agree with Stefano in terms of keeping it interesting. I'm a big fan of like making goals and targets and then working towards those targets, no matter how meaningless they might be, even if it's just like, I want to get 0.1 second faster on my daily run or something like that. I think those kind of like daily challenges help. But in terms of overall motivation, I agree with Michael, actually. Like, why are you doing this? If you're trying to be fit to just be fit, then there's other ways you can do it. You know what I mean? Like, you can, if you want to be fit, like, you will be motivated to be fit and you will do fit stuff. However, if it's just, I want to be fit because I want to be, like, because I want to look good or just like something superficial, then perhaps you won't be as motivated. And also, I think if you, for example, you're fighting recreationally, like some people might want to, I think it's okay during this period to just take a breath and take it easy. Like, a lot of people won't, like, most people aren't going to be professional fighters. Most people aren't going to be, doing like 2-a-days every day for this entire 6
I love 2-a-days.
I know you do, but you're
I miss 2-a-days.
Oh my God, I know.
People love 2-a-days, but I don't think that just because you're not doing 2-a-days or you're not motivated to do 2-a-days makes you either less of an athlete or makes you lazy or anything.
It certainly makes you less of an athlete.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Is.
How many people do you know? How many people do you know who never or work out half as much as you, but are just 10 times more talented? How many people?
None.
That's not true. That's not
listen,
true.
Listen, bro.
Not
listen.
true, man.
Hold on.
It was based on how.
No. Let me just spin this to you in a different way. If there are people who are out there not working as hard as me, that are better than me, it's probably because they have some kind of innate talent.
That's exactly what I just said.
Well, I'm not.
That's exactly. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. He's trolling you. Don't take him seriously.
Okay.
Listen, David. Here's the thing. If you're in sports, a lot of us
are getting you all podcasts.
It's different for athletes, because if you're an athlete, you always feel like you're playing catch up. You've got to work harder because your competition always is. But for a layman, I think your advice is pretty good. But for an athlete,
consider what I'm saying. I know, like, you might be like, oh yeah, no, he's not an athlete, so just consider what I'm saying about how, like, that can be like a toxic thought pattern that leads to exhaustion.
I'll consider what you're saying while I'm doing my 3-a-day workout. Thank you very much.
Sure. All right.
I missed 3 days.
I did 3 days for my camp. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I might do it again.
I think you did like 5-a-days, Mike.
Yeah, Mike's like, I didn't train this week, so let me cram all my training into Saturday.
Yeah, that was the greatest thing. I was like, yeah.
This guy would literally be
but
like,
yeah, no, David definitely has.
Johnny, I wanted to spin this to you just because you do this for a living, man. Like, you're having to keep people motivated and fit throughout the year and kind of overcoming hurdles, both athletes and non-athletes alike. So what's your secret, Don Magboo? What's your secret?
And it's not just when it comes to being an athlete or not an athlete. It just comes with just mindset of just to better yourself. And in terms of speaking of Manny, here's Manny. There's young Jamie right there.
That is the greatest troll.
The number one troll. But yeah. We come in an age where it's 2020, and when it comes to finding different ways to stay motivated, we have all the access in the world to find different things to learn and do to keep your mind stimulated and things like that. But to piggyback on what Dave was saying, I truly believe in setting small goals for yourself. And setting big, hard, loftier goals it often discourages people because it seems like you'll never get there. And by setting small term goals, remember that same term, 10% at a time, is one way to keep yourself motivated. Because like at the end of the day, if you send like a little small lofty goal, like, oh, I want to lose 15 pounds in say a certain amount of time, and you notice that the scale's never moving or stuff like that, you just send little smaller goals, like week by week, I want to lose half a pound a week. So I'm like, half a pound a week, I could do half a pound a week. So you'll strive for that goal and you'll attain it, and then maintain that consistency, and soon after enough, the scale keeps dropping and you're down 15 pounds. So this changing your approach and your mindset in terms of achieving a long-term goal by separating it into small, little, more realistic goals that you can attain for yourself.
Excellent. Jeremy, you got anything you want to say on this?
So I agree with you guys. I think
sorry guys, it's just cutting off constantly, so
no worries. Jeremy, what?
Yeah, for the non-athletes, I would say definitely setting small goals is a good way to stay motivated. But for an athlete, if you were to only go work out when you felt good or when you felt motivated, you're gonna find yourself being, not reaching your goals and stuff. So like a lot of the times, like I'm gonna be honest, like, and I don't really mean to sound like mean or whatever, but like it's hard to find sympathy for like someone who just says like, oh, I don't feel good today, so I can't work out. I mean, like you just gotta do it. Like, and I don't really set goals like, oh, I want to lose this much weight or that much weight. I kind of like if I ran three 50-yard shuttles in 50 seconds, then the next time I'm out there, I want to run it in 48 seconds, so like that's kind of how I like see it, approach it. So that's like my advice to really stay motivated. It's not really advice, it's kind of like condemning, but still.
Hilarious.
No,
actually,
I think there is something to that in the sense that like, oh, sorry, David, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I totally understand now why we create this athlete versus non-athlete divide. I genuinely think that Jeremy's right. If you're an athlete and it's your job, or this is what you want to do for your living, or this is like your life, then yeah, life is uncomfortable sometimes. And I am from that mentality and from that background where you got to do stuff even if you don't like it, sometimes for the greater good. I definitely believe that. The only thing I would say is that we just got to be careful that we're not confusing, like athleticism with fitness, with health. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I hear that.
Like, I feel like a lot of people like merge the two. Like, I want to be the best athlete. Like, why? So you can sit at your desk all day better, or which is okay. That's totally fine. But like you gotta like really think about it. But anyway, yeah, that's it.
No, I hear that. It may not be the easiest of times to want to go to the gym 8 o'clock at night that day, but if you want something, go get that thing, right? Whether you're an athlete, non-athlete, so on and so forth.
Nike, just do it. We have 4 questions left, but I'm thinking like, how long have we gone for already? A substantial amount of time, right?
2 hours and 1 minute.
Yeah, let's
fire these questions. Or do we want to save them?
We could save them because some of them we're gonna. I know us, and we're gonna go into depth on them. But I kind of want to get to Donnie's story if we can for story time, and then we can wrap this up if you guys are okay with that. So we'll save the other questions for next week. Did you have a story you wanted to tell us for the story time segment? So that the people out there of Middle Earth can get to know Don Magboo a little bit better.
And don't worry about not hearing us. We can hear you.
Oh, what a fight story. or
anything,
like,
anything. It can be a fight story.
Oh,
It can be a fight story. It can be the time you had the runs in the KFC parking lot. Honestly, it's up to you. Just something that you would think that the leg kick fans would find interesting, entertaining.
okay, well, I was going into a big championship fight overseas, and it was quite. No, I'm not really gonna get into it too much, but it was quite the journey. I separated my AC joint, my shoulder, early in camp, and I took 3 cortisone shots during training camp just to get through camp. And I was in a recent skid. I was looking to get back. They gave me this big opportunity versus their hometown guy. And just to get through camp, I would be sparring in a sling, one hand in a sling, and sparring guys in full MMA. And really got my. That's why I've become a switch fighter. So if Mike and Stefano can attest to, I fight a lot of southpaw. I mix it up quite a bit, and due to different injuries, it was able to make increase or widen my skill set. So going through that camp, I fly in. I'm very meticulous about my my weight cut, and I fly overseas, thinking that I'm only like 4 pounds off, and I go in, step on the scale. Apparently, I retained about 5 pounds of water on the plane, and I was so I basically had to double what I planned to cut weight, and I planned to do it I also planned to do it in the sauna and an Epsom salt bath, and the resort that we were at had no bathtub, it had no sauna, so thank God we were in a tropical country, and it was like 40 degrees outside. So I would basically cut weight in a sauna suit full of Abilene cream underneath, just to open up my pores and sweat out even more. And go back inside the gym and go on the elliptical and cut that extra 5 pounds before I stepped on the scale. And stepped on the scale, made weight. And I don't mean to backtrack, but right before I left to fly over, I forgot that I sprained my ankle pretty severely. So I already had the separated shoulder. Basically, I couldn't use my right arm. I sprained my ankle pretty well right before I left. And anyways, and I had this weight cut that I didn't plan to struggle in. And I didn't really struggle, but it was just a lot more work. So
Donnie,
I go into the fight.
Sorry, I just have one quick question. Sorry, do you mind if I interrupt you there for a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
If this were David's perfect world, the story would have ended right here, and he wouldn't have persevered. Okay, sorry, go on. that's all I wanted to say.
I wouldn't have persevered either. What is this?
David would have been like, I went home. Nothing good comes out of hard work. Okay, sorry, man. Go on, Donnie.
Well, yes. So I go into this fight, and it's a championship fight, 5-minute rounds. So we're going into the fight, and I'm coming in on one bad wheel and one arm, and I come in and I basically, a lot of you guys have seen this particular fight, and I basically put a highlight reel on their hometown guy in the first 2 rounds. And,
hey. Oh, is that the part where I cheer? No? Okay.
But yeah, so we're going into the 3rd round thinking that it's a 5-round fight. So I kind of like take the 3rd round off, sort of like similar to like Khabib versus Conor, where he kind of like slowed down a little bit, even versus Ally Quintus.
But you still won it pretty clearly, in my opinion.
And apparently I won it. And during this time, you could tell like the commentator was live. You could hear him. Like everyone in the audience could hear him. And he was a Caucasian gentleman with a drunken Trinidadian accent, cheering for the other opponent, who was the hometown guy, the entire time. Instead of calling it play by play, he's like trying to get the crowd behind their hometown boy. And so there was quite a bit of obstacles that I had to go through in that particular fight. And instead of winning a unanimous 30-27 decision, many people think it was a 10-8 first round, so 30-26. It ended up being a split decision to the other guy, and he acted like he won the lottery, kind of equivalent to Michael Bisping when he beat Matt Hamill. Like he was the celebrant that won the lottery, and he got taken down like 15 times. So, but at the end of the day, that organization treated me right, and they offered me another title shot at a higher weight class, and now currently they're reigning and defending champions. So.
Because Donnie's a humble guy, I just want to say Donnie beat the brakes off of this guy. He question mark kicked him in the head 3 times. Superman punched him
with my sprained ankle.
Took him down. Like, I hit him with put him in a crucifix position and just beat him to a pulp. Like this was one of the worst robberies I've seen in my life. And if you go online and watch this fight, the commentary is maybe the most obnoxious commentary you've heard in your life, because it's a cheerleading squad. They're like, "Let's go, Jivan! You gotta push, Jivan! Come on, go ahead and win this thing!" And Donnie will spinning back kick this guy, and then Superman punch him and kick him in the head, and the crowd's silence. And then this guy will struggle to get up from side control and be on his feet, and the crowd's like, "Yeah, Jivan, you gotta go."
you forgot about the cartwheel passing and
cartwheel guard past this guy. Like this fight was literally, it was a clinic. It was like he was fighting the first bad guy in the martial arts movie, like.
I love that reference. But okay, so let me ask a question about, you know what, we're 2 minutes in. We're 2 hours in.
We're 2 minutes in.
This is an off-air question. 2 hours in. I'll save it for off-air because, I've always said judging needs an overhaul. So, I was gonna ask, what would you change about the judging in that fight? Would you add an extra judge in there? Would you change the criteria? But I'm not going to go into that.
It's not even his whole. Adding an extra judge would not help.
I say you get those judges checked for glaucoma. That's how you fix that fight.
All right.
Should I do my thing?
Yeah, sure. Do. Oh wait. Before you do your thing, we are going to be doing a live stream reaction of UFC 249. We'll put it on Instagram and have the advertisements done, but we are going to do that. That's going to be a thing that's going to happen, and we are currently really excited for that. So that's just one thing I want to put out there.
Next Saturday, guys, tune in, the leg kick. We want to watch the fights with you.
Yeah, so please watch on YouTube Live, and we'll put the link in the bio for everything. Oh, and also,
can I say that was my idea, or?
That was Donnie's idea. Full disclosure.
Oh, he didn't tell me it was his idea. You did not say that was your idea.
Hey, bro, listen. If a good idea comes your way, you steal it.
That's plagiarism. I didn't even know I could do it too. Till I thought about it. I was like, can we do this? And then I tried. So.
Listen, Donnie, do you have any shout outs you want to give?
Shout out to everyone in this quarantine, particularly my fitness family, Matador MMA, and Integrity Fitness, my place of work, and just everyone out there. We'll get through. We'll come back stronger from this. All we needed was a little adversity to show how we could adapt and adjust and overcome things like this. So.
Beautiful. Donnie, we got to have you back on sometime, man, especially when there's not such an exciting week of fights, so we can just pick your brain in particular a little bit more.
No, it's all good, guys. It's all good. Catch the leg kick on Spotify, all podcast apps, and on YouTube. Did I get that right, Mike?
This guy, yeah.
There we go.
Stefano couldn't pay me enough. I'm playing. You guys keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing.
Guys, if you don't like, subscribe, share, and tell your friends, we're going to send Donnie to your house, quarantine or not. And he's going to put on the same performance he did against Jivan on you.
And a little more healthy.
Yeah, and still somehow lose a decision.
Man. All right. Cool. Oh, is that your thing? That was your thing?
Wow. You want more theatrics? You want more fireworks? Is that what you want from me? Okay, fine.
Usually you're saying like, oh, we'll set you ablaze if you don't watch this.
Okay,
like,
perfect. Okay, guys. Guys, watch this podcast from start to finish, our entire category. If I see you out there on the streets and I quiz you on leg kick trivia and you're not up to date, even on the episodes before I was there, those ones don't really matter, the ones before I was there, but it's okay. But listen, if you're not up to date in your leg kick trivia, if you're not hero worshiping us as your idols and subscribing and liking, and I see you on this podcast, I will... Damn it. I have no
You gotta end it there. That's perfect.
I have no
Mike, are you gonna edit this? Because there was Stefano there in a good 10 minutes where I couldn't hear you guys, and
probably,
my story.
Like, I'll be honest, my editing is about as lazy as Ronda Rousey's second half of her career. So like,
in the WWE, I assume.
So
listen, we'll skin you alive and hang you upside down for the crow's feast on you. There you go.
We will not do that.
You're no longer a Christian pod.
Right. Bro, Christians did all the time in the Middle Ages. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're a medieval Christian podcast, man.
All right. Let's
beautiful people. Mike, do it. Do the thing.
Story, so we'll end it here. Okay.
Mike, do the roar.
Oh, in this crazy mix-up world, that's actually quite nice outside. It's 22 degrees, and you can't enjoy it, unfortunately, because you are staying home. Just remember, you got three things. You got life, you've got your family, and this podcast. Take it easy, everybody.